Hello everyone and welcome back to this channel. For those of you new to this channel, I try to explain things about British culture and history and also about the English language. On the menu today, the Glorious Revolution. It's a historical event in Britain that not too many people are aware of, and they're certainly not aware of the historical importance. Modern day Britain and its institutions wouldn't be the same without that glorious revolution. It happened towards the end of the 17th century, in 1688 to be precise, and it involved the deposition of James II to be replaced by his daughter Mary and her Dutch husband William of Orange, who at that time was the so-called stadtholder of the Dutch Republic, more or less its ruler. What was the problem? Well, James II had converted to Catholicism, and he had not proved a friend of Parliament, really. He had suspended the English Parliament and also the Scottish Parliament, and he was basically ruling by personal decree. Now, in principle, that wasn't too much of a problem because James had no male heir. And Parliament knew, everybody knew, that on his death, the power would pass to his daughter Mary, who was very much Protestant. So, no problem really. But then, in 1688, all of a sudden, a son was born to James II in his second marriage. And that all of a sudden turned the situation critical, because everybody knew that James II would make that boy also Catholic, give him a Catholic upbringing, and the spectre of England becoming a Catholic country again, that immediately appeared. There were even riots, and Parliament, or at least a coalition of politicians, decided that, well, no, this couldn't go on. And so they basically invited Mary and her husband, William of Orange, to invade England. Yes, indeed, a kind of foreign invasion, albeit on invitation. But an invasion by Dutch forces nevertheless. In April 1689, Mary and William, they were made joint monarchs of England by Parliament. And effectively they became Mary II and William III. Joint monarchs. That was an exceptional situation. Normally you have one monarch on the throne, and okay, they might be married, and sometimes their wife or husband get a kind of honorary title as queen, but they're not effectively also a monarch. In this case, both Mary II and William III were monarch, joint monarchy. Now, why was this called the Glorious Revolution? Yeah, the revolution side is not too difficult to understand. It was a pretty big change. But why glorious? Well, first of all, because relatively speaking, there was limited bloodshed. Yeah, always a good thing. Secondly, the Glorious Revolution led to the so-called Bill of Rights, and that has proved to be very important. It basically confirmed that Parliament was more important than the monarch, that Parliament was more powerful than the monarch. Besides that, the Bill of Rights contained a number of basic civil rights, the rules for succession of the monarchy, and also the limitation of the power of the monarchy. Apart from that, as far as Parliament was concerned, it was also fairly important. The Bill of Rights stipulates that parliaments have to meet regularly. That was not the case before. Before the Glorious Revolution, basically it was the monarch who decided when to call Parliament or not. Apart from that, there should be free and fair elections for Parliament, for the parliaments on the British Isles. Of course, you can't compare it to today's ideas of free and fair elections, but still, it was a start. And apart from that, also, debates in Parliament were subject or became subject to freedom of speech. Very important. So from that moment onwards, members of Parliament could say anything they liked in Parliament. Yeah? Very important aspect of freedom of speech. So indeed, the Glorious Revolution was a very important turning point for the state and the state structure of Britain. And what happened to James II, you might ask? Well, he was sent into exile at the end of 1688. At first he went to France and then to Ireland. Ireland, Catholic country, where he did get support from the Irish Parliament. And he tried to gather an army to get him back to power, get him back on the English throne. But in 1690, he was defeated in Ireland by William III at the so-called Battle of the Boyne. And that was basically the end of James II. Well, I hope you found this interesting. As always, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so, and feel free to leave any comments. See you next time. Bye bye.